With how much I've been drawing recently, unsurprisingly, I've kind of been creating these interesting little piles of drawings next to my desk, and so I finally had some time to go through them. And I was lucky enough to locate a very particular drawing that I made about a year ago. So it's this one right here. And I had been meaning to, for quite a while, make a video showing you how to draw this pattern. This is actually nothing new. I came across it many years ago when I was looking into quilting, and this is kind of one of the stitching patterns that is done on quilting. It's really gorgeous, and what this actually is it's a feather pattern. It looks very much like a fern almost to me, so it's just quite lovely. I love the way that it winds around, and it just looks so natural. So today, I would like to take a few minutes to show you how to do this, how to set it up. It's actually pretty easy, at least in from my perspective. So how about we get set up and we grab some paper and a pen, and let's get started on this one. So I suppose that I should probably clear some things off of my desk here. I know that I've just been drawing so much recently, just been staying really busy. I'm trying to make sure that I keep myself busy, honestly, just because if I don't have things to do, I think I just get a little weird. And so for this pattern right here, I think first of all, I just want to make sure I know about what kind of ink might be good for this. I think in the original drawing, I used a Sharpie fine point, and I've been using a Sharpie fine point marker recently, but I think I want to try something different because I have this one right here. This is the double-ended brush tip Sharpie. This one works pretty good, but I think today I'm going to go for a Tombow pen. So this is a Fude no Suke. I'll make sure to link it in the description in case you're interested in seeing what these pens are like. But they're some of my favorite, and they are definitely very inky, and they make very nice smooth lines. So I'm going to go with that one today. And I believe that the very first thing I want to start off with is this little stem. So how about we do one here? And you're just going to kind of choose your direction. I'm going to start in the left, head to the right, and I'll make a curve, much like a question mark or like a hook. It's a pretty good place to start. I want you to notice that I didn't go all the way to the edge of the paper. I want to leave some room there so I can create some little segments. I know I'm going to be tempted to call them leaves, but I know they're not leaves. They're parts of a feather. So notice I added another one, and here I'm going to draw a third one. Again, I'm making sure not to go to the edge because I do want to put some of my motifs there. Okay, so I just did 3 for now, and notice they're branching out. So that's the beginning of it. So we're going to have a couple of these hooks. They don't have to curve. It just makes it look really fancy when they're curved like that. You can make them straight. And so what I like to do is I start from the end of one of these. So right here I'm going to start at the end. And inside I'm just going to add a few lines. You don't have to add those lines. I think I just like to put those there. And so starting from there, I'm going to start working my way, in a way, backwards. And so as I create each one of these shapes, and yes, they do very much look like little leaves, but I think in this case they're just like the sections of a feather. And so as I work my way through, occasionally I'm going to make one that looks more like a swirl. So this one's still normal. Let's do this one. And this one is going to be a nice little swirl. And then the next one, just kind of going to lean it right up against that one. So of course, one thing that you do want to pay attention to as you're adding in these little leaf-like shapes, keep in mind the curvature of the stem. Which way is it curving? And if you feel uncomfortable just diving right in with a pen, just watch first. Maybe just take a few minutes to watch how it's done if you've never done this kind of pattern before. And pay attention to how, as it starts curving outward, generally how I start filling the space. I'll add another shape right here. So it's wide and it gets a nice little curve in there. So it swirls. And then bring another one in. So try to pay attention to just how thick you make the shapes, how much space they're taking up. Because unfortunately, as you're working your way around, you very quickly run out of space in certain places. So I'm going to keep going very slowly. And I'm just going to add simple leaf-like shapes one at a time. And you can add these little lines, you don't have to. I think they just look kind of nice. It adds some depth. And so I'm going to slowly work my way around this curve. So what's going to end up happening is we will eventually go into this inside of this curve right here. So I think we might as well just go in. Let's go in for it. And this area is much tighter. It's a little bit more difficult. So how about we just work on the shapes for just a second here without adding those extra lines. And I want you to see how when you draw the shapes initially, they don't look quite right. So here, let's do one here. It looks kind of wrong, so I'm going to add this extra little bit of ink right there. Let's do another one. Way out there. Then I'm going to add a little bit of ink right here into this wedge. Like that. And as you continue going around, we're going to do this. And little by little, you'll start noticing that you're kind of have too much space there. And so again, just practice really slowly. This is the most difficult part of this design, is going in here. So notice this one looks a little awkward. We're going to add a wedge of ink right here. And there, it looks better again. So let's add another one. Bit of an awkward shape again. But I'm going to go in there. And I will add this little wedge of ink. So just some black right there. And it helps give you back that shape that you want. So again, the space is kind of small. Let's look at the other one, what's going on. See, they get very small. How about we add in one of those little shapes that look like they're coiling up? We can throw one of those in there. Maybe throw in a few little ones too. We'll see what happens. I do know for sure that when I first did this, I think I tried it out with a pencil first. So right here, I'm going to add some ink. So you'll notice if the shape is a little awkward, feel free, just kind of lay them down differently. So I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to lay one down entirely sideways, right in there. So right there. A bit odd, but it'll work out just fine. I'm going to add another one here. It's almost entirely laying down. Again, it's a little odd. It fits just fine. And so now what I have is a nice space, so I can start laying them down the way that they need to be laying down. Just like that. And then from here on out, I can just continue in the usual way. So there's that one. How about I add a little bit of ink right here, just so my shape looks right. And what I like to do is I like to start lengthening these so that they fill that space a little better. I don't want to leave too many gaps. How about I turn it around? Yeah, there we go. So sometimes turning it around or rotating it will help you kind of see what's going on. So I notice that I want to start laying down my shapes a little more, so I'm going to do that. So here's the curve. The bottom of it looks a little awkward, so I'm going to add some ink down there. And so if you decide to try this one, make sure to get some practice. I do know that that area inside where it curves is a little awkward, but it's very much worth it. It looks very interesting. And then right here in the areas where it's a little bit more straight, it's not as bad. It's much more easier. So here we're just kind of going to go down this last segment, going down to the base of the stem. And we'll just fill it in with these little shapes, these leaf-like shapes. I feel like if we leave it this way, with just the shapes on one side, it could very much be a fern. It would look really nice, which we should probably do that soon. We might do maybe during our next live stream we could do that. We could draw some ferns using this pattern, so that would be really nice. But so far with the way that it's used, it is known as feathers. If any of you do any kind of quilting, let me know if you've used this, because I know it's just so gorgeous. I never got around to using this pattern in any quilting, but I do think about it. I think in the future I should definitely do that because it is just so lovely. So here we're going to start another one. So notice I'm starting at the end, and now that is my personal preference. If you're doing this on your own, you are free to start anywhere else if you like, if that works better for you. So I'm just going to do the shapes just to show you right here. I'm going to do them a little faster. So notice how they open up in the area where it touches the stem. They're wide and they look a little awkward. Just a little awkward. They don't look too pretty, but they fit. It's necessary for them to fan out that way. So I'm going to do a little bit more just to follow the shapes like that. Adding one of these swirly ones. So like that. And so right there, those are those shapes that look slightly awkward, and now we're going to go back in and actually adjust them. So we're going to add these little wedges of black. It's just going to make those shapes look a little better now. So this is just my way. This is how I like to make sure that the shapes land in the right place. And I think this is good enough. If you find another way, perfect. Whatever works for you. Whatever gets it done. It's perfectly fine. So here I'm adding these wedges in, just kind of filling it in. And I'll do it to as many as I need to. I'm not sure if I'll have to go all the way down to the base of that stem, but I can just keep going here. And you'll notice it looks perfectly fine with that little dark wedge there. It's no problem. Maybe this one right here. I can add a little more to that one. And this one. And of course, I will still go in and add some of those lines that just help give it more depth. Those are going to help just like I did at the beginning. But for now, I'm just showing you this is the part that's the most, requires the most out of you when you're practicing this. Maybe this one right here, that might help. So as you can see right there, that really helped lay everything out. So this is on the inside of that curve. It's the most difficult part. And now we're going to go around the outside. I think this side is a little easier. So I'm just going to start going in there. You just want to make sure that as you're working your way around, pay attention to how they line up. When you're going around this side, you actually want to kind of place them in there a little too close to each other. So I want you to see this next one out, and then it touches at the base very close to the previous one. So again, we're going to go out, then touches really close. This is where I like to start making them really, really long because they look much more dramatic when they're very long. And notice how their bases are still touching very close to each other. So make sure you're paying attention to that. It'll give you very nice fanning shapes. They look a little more dramatic or more elegant, I suppose. Elegant is a good word for that. And then just take your time. Take your time. And so right here, it's going to start getting a little bit crowded because I want space for the other stem that's there. So I think what I do sometimes, just to make sure that they don't crowd each other, I'll make a slight little pencil line right there. All that this is going to be for is just to make sure that as I continue working in that little gap, that I leave room for the other feather that's going to be next to it. Just want to leave some space there. So I'll make sure to just stay on the right hand side of that pencil line. And there, and I think that last one is just going to be one right in there, like that. Okay, so those are the shapes. Just follow the curves, and that's what you'll have. So of course you'll add lines inside of each one of those. But this, I wanted to show it to you like this so that you could really see the way that they're lined up. And you can always come back to this to reference it so that you can see how it's laid out. And then of course, here is what it looks like when it's finished, when it's completed. With the lines. And I think for me, I'm going to go make a photocopy of this, and I'll probably spend a little bit of time coloring this and just having some fun. So I hope that you like this pattern. It is an old one. I did not invent it. This has been around for a very long time. It is quite a satisfying pattern. Very nice to fill some pages with it, do some scroll work, and just have some fun. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I have a lot of fun creating this one too. So I hope you have an excellent Friday. For me, the weekend is coming. It's going to be very busy. Lots and lots of things to do. So I hope you have a good day. Have a good weekend, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching.